panicked because I already knew I was running late, and I literally passed the bus. I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, that wasn't me in the bus. That was Davis out of tour with an Italian group, actually. So
awesome.
From Aberdeen. Well, there's one lives in Aberdeen, so I had some friends over, and he was picking them up. So hopefully he was taking them all home. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Blether with. Great to have you on. Ed and Ryan are fastest off on the chat. They're watching on YouTube. Good evening to you both. Welcome along. Let us know what is in your glasses tonight. And
we've got free reign to chat as long as we like. There's no VPub on tonight.
There's no VPub tonight. Yeah. So we can blether as late as you like. Our guest will be delighted to hear that. But yeah, so I'm not sure how. We'll see how it goes. How when people start logging off and the chat stops, we will.
Yeah. We'll take that as a subtle hint.
A subtle hint, yeah. What's in your glass, Kat? What are you tasting tonight?
Well, I thought because I am hosting your Lowlands whiskey tasting at the shop on Friday, I would go for something Lowlands. So we've got Lindors.
Oh, nice. Is that the sherry?
White. The
wine glass, SDR.
Yes. And I've not opened it before, so it's so good luck for me trying to get into it because I don't have much luck with trying to get into bottles.
Sorry, I have a son trying to break into the office there. If you're hearing any banging, he's being murdered. It's just Killian trying to get in. So I'm gonna pour a puzzler for you tonight. This is it's called Safe Haven. This is an indie bottler from Murray McDavid, mystery malt. So it's called Safe Haven. So if anyone at home knows what that is, here he is. Look.
Hello, Killian. See, you just wanted to be on the Blether. That's what it was. You're like, let me in at 7 o'clock. I know what time it is.
Bring Andrew in so Andrew can meet you. Well, so our guest tonight is not Killian. It's Andrew. Hello, Andrew. How are you?
Hi, evening. Yeah, I'm doing well.
You've just gate crashed my dram.
I've got the whole gang here.
Hello. So
finally wide awake.
Who we were talking about? Yeah, he won't be for long, hopefully. Hey, night, night.
Night. We haven't had him on for a couple of weeks, though. I don't think, have we? He wasn't on last week.
He's been going to bed a little bit earlier the last couple of weeks. He's been. He gets pretty active Thursday nights, or Thursdays with his childmind. He's full time Wednesday, Thursday childminding. So she nappers him. So he goes to bed kind of between 6:30 and 7:15 normally. But she's on holiday. Catherine's on holiday this week, so he's getting to stay up late.
Okay. That's cool. So we get to see him again.
Maybe he'll come crawling through. Yeah, so I've got Safe Haven. So if anyone knows what the Safe Haven mystery dram from Murray McDavid is.
Is Safe Haven a clue, or is it like one of these independent names they have to go with for like a distillery?
It's a clue. It's a mystery malt. Andrew will probably know. It's a link.
I guess, yeah.
You're not allowed to guess, Andrew. Everyone at home.
Rubbish at these guessing games. I'll just watch all the chat coming through and see if somebody can get it for me.
Well, yeah, I'm sure somebody at home will. So who have we got? We've got Maria, we've got Rick, we've got Tim, we've got Keith, and Ryan and Ed. Good evening to you all. Thank you for joining us. As always, let us know what's in your glasses, guys. And any questions for our guest Andrew tonight, feel free to fire them in the chat. We'll do our best to make sure we touch on any comments and any questions you've got. I've been dying to ask you since you agreed to join us, Andrew. I think Head of Distilleries is probably the best title of anyone that I've talked to. What does that mean? How did you get to be Head of Distilleries?
So what does it mean? Basically running, or like overseeing rather, the 3 distilleries that CVH Spirits has. So that's Bunnahabhain, which I have not on purpose, but just happened to pull out a T-shirt that I'm wearing, Deanston and Tobermory. And yeah, it basically covers everything from raw materials and all the distillery operations and through to making the new make spirit. So it's kind of all the first week of the journey of it becoming Scotch, and then it will get filled into casks and matured, and then it's sort of in the provenance of our master blender, Julianne Fernandez. So I have been doing this for just about a year. Before that, I was distillery manager at Deanston, which I've been doing for basically since COVID. So I started during COVID times and didn't get to know anyone outside of the distillery for ages, and then it was like a whole new world opened up. So that's kind of been my start within the whiskey industry. Before that, I was working for a few years at West Brewery down in Glasgow, and before that was totally different. It was oil and gas. So I actually grew up in Inverurie. Everyone there just seemed to get jobs in oil and gas. It was easy. Did that for a while, and then realised it wasn't very much fun, and getting more and more into drinks. So I stopped doing that, and yeah, kind of here I am.
Awesome.
So you went from working for a brewery, straight into like distillery manager at Deanston.
Yeah. So there was a guy called Stephen Woodcock who was probably the head of distilleries too before me, and pretty much took a chance on me, I think, where giving me that job. So I think I managed to waffle enough during an interview about mashing that he probably thought it was okay. And just pretended distilling would be okay. Would be the easy part afterwards.
You couldn't have done a bad job at Deanston, because now you're in charge of all three. So
yeah, so it's good because there's more variety. Deanston pretty much makes the same thing almost all year round. It does a tiny bit of production of organic. So when it comes out of a shutdown, it will do a couple of mashes of organic. So I think like last year we filled about 60 casks. So like really small compared to what we normally do. But the rest of it's just trying to make Deanston spirit the whole year round. Whereas at Tobermory Distillery, it does around about 30 to 40% of its production will be unpeated, which goes into Tobermory, and then the rest of it's peated, which goes into Blether. And Bunnahabhain also does some peated production for that tends to end up in blends and stuff like that. But yeah, kind of got a bit more of that going on with, a bit more involvement with different pieces of equipment, different histories to the distillery. What's quite cool is they're pretty much all founded in different centuries as well. 18th, 19th and 20th century distilleries. So
the Tobermory is pretty old, isn't it? It's like 17, when's Tobermory?
I want to say 1797. I hope that I'm not wrong and it's not 1798. But yeah, it's right at the... Yeah, so that's good. And then, yeah, just getting to travel and visit the islands is always good. So just chatting earlier about next week getting to go over to Bunnahabhain for a festival day on Friday.
Nice.
That'd be cool. Do they have what? Do you know what they?
Doesn't it?
Sorry, say again, please.
It says 1797 rings a bell with another distillery that Kat's quite familiar with.
I think there's like 1 year between us, between us and Tobermory. I'm gonna have to double check that because we're 1797 as well. What's Bunnahabhain got on this year? Did they not have like really good bands last year? Was it Bunnahabhain that had like live music last year? My favorite band's Nightworks. I'm sure one of the distilleries had them last year. I thought maybe it was Bunnahabhain.
at the Rolling Drones at Bunnahabhain. So it was a sort of Celtic bagpipes and rock band. They were well good. And then usually, I think like pretty much every year, the Bunnahabhain staff then get a table at the Lochside in Bowmore, and they'll have dinner there. But then the Rolling Drones like also came along and played in there, and it's a great night. It's definitely kind of like you've got the daytime and it's all distillery and tastings and stuff like that, and then the night time it just kind of turns into a party. It's the same way like
Awesome.
I was in a small place we were staying in Port Charlotte when I was over there last year, and we were in the Port Charlotte hotel, and it was just like absolutely rammed. Like I think we tried to get in about 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and it was like packed to the rafters, like squeezed in, but it was just like best atmosphere. It just felt like properly being on holiday. It's like can't believe that technically I'm working tomorrow. It just feels like a paid holiday.
Like I wonder how many guys in the chat are heading out to the festival this year.
Yeah. Let us know, guys, if you're heading out. If you've got your eye on any distillery days where you're going to be. I think most people try and get them all, don't they? You don't go over for one day to the festival. You're there for the whole shebang. If you can be. A few more people.
Like there was some people who I think they just got their favorite distillery, like especially Germans and stuff that were like that was their holiday every year. So I was mainly speaking to people that were coming to Bunnahabhain, but it was almost like this was returning to their mecca every year. I imagine every distillery's got the same, when it's got these real hardcore fans that just make that trip. But then, yeah, I think probably if you're just generally into Islay whiskies, it would be a fantastic holiday to go across for the full week and try and get to all 10 distilleries and get across to like Jura have their day on the same day as Bunnahabhain. So Bunnahabhain's not too far from Portlaskey. You can kind of do the two in the same day if you've got travel arranged. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
And Ardnahoe is out that direction as well now, isn't it?
Yeah, so Ardnahoe is kind of halfway on the. It's called a road. It feels like a track leading to Bunnahabhain. But yeah, like that's pretty cool. I'm actually hoping I can get into their shop on Thursday to get their new whiskey that's coming out. I don't know. Have you guys tried that yet?
I haven't yet. No,
I haven't. I've seen it online, but I want to buy it from the distillery. Like I want to go and buy it from the distillery, but
yeah.
That's right. I don't think it's not kind of one of these limited edition. I think it's like 60,000 bottle batch for the first, which is quite cool because it means that people can. Yeah, it's not going to sell out everywhere straight away. It's a big enough batch that people are able to. There's not that FOMO moment where it's going to get snapped up. Although I have seen it on auction sites already.
Me too.
I think that's because there's a big problem with the website or something, wasn't there? So I think they struggled with like. So I imagine there's probably a few people that are trying to see if they can just make a bit of a benefit whilst it's just mailing out.
Well, the hype is live. Ed Friday is attending a CVH online tasting next week, which would be pretty cool. So covering all 3 distilleries. So for the guys, we've had one guest. Tim is the guest for my whiskey, which is the Safe Haven. He guessed Tobermory, which I believe is Gaelic for Safe Haven. But I'm going to call you out because it's actually the Chig because it's peated in there. So you're right distillery, wrong whiskey.
That must be one of the most mispronounced ones. What is it? Is it like Lichig? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I have been told it's almost like chick instead of dig.
Okay.
So Lichig is
Lichig.
My attempt at it. But, it's like quite good history. So like Tobermory and Oban were sister distilleries, and Oban is Little Bay, which is into the series that they do, and then Tobermory Lichig was Safe Bay, Safe Harbor. So there's a good little link between the two of them, and both like very similar with the way that they're set up and stuff like that in terms of like sizes and number of washbacks and all that. So it's definitely another good sort of trip that you can do, heading out west that way and then getting the ferry over onto Mull.
Mull's such a lovely place as well. It's just, yeah. How big is Mull? What do they call it? Has it got a name? What do they call Mull? It's not got like a nickname. I can't remember. But yeah, it's a very, very pretty place. And then you've got like Balamory, of course. You have to be Scottish and a certain age to know about Balamory, but what's the story in Balamory? You'll be getting into that, Mike, or is it probably not still on the TV? Do they do reruns of it anymore, Balamory?
Probably somewhere. I'll get it on YouTube, I'm sure. But no, we're not quite Balamory stage yet. We're still in the Night Garden. And
I used to be a housekeeper for Edie McCready in Balamory. I used to be her housekeeper on an island off the south coast. That's my claim to fame. She came to my wedding, and the guy at my wedding was like, "Oh my god, you're like some sort of Kardashian with all these celebrities." I'm like, "It's Edie McCready. Let's not."
Every time we talk, Kat, every week, you seem to mention a place in Scotland that you stay in. It's different.
I know. Yeah, it's quite a wee place. So, like, it's not that they're hard to get around the place. But yeah, I suppose I do. I'm going to stop mentioning places I've lived. And I'm going to stop taking my hair down. I'm just going to sit and stare at the screen.
Not nice strangers into your house as well. That's the third one.
I can't make too many promises. I've got to have some hobbies.
We've got Rick who's watching as usual on Facebook and on YouTube from San Francisco, and he
do that?
He just likes to bump up our numbers, I think.
Oh, thank you, Rick.
He speaks to different people. He's got friends on both. But his question for you, Andrew, the Bunnahabhain's 2002 Fage bottling was, I'm gonna have a guess. It's Avin Arak. But he's asking how do you pronounce it, so I'll let you pronounce that.
You'll let me embarrass myself as well, yeah. I probably went the same as you, where I think it'll be like a V, sort of like Avanara, but I genuinely could be well out on that. But yeah, Andrew Brown, who's the manager at Bunnahabhain, is always telling me how Haven is almost like Haven, so the BH is a V. So I'm going to go with it, Avin Ara.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wish I could speak Gaelic. It's so pretty. You did it for a bit, Mike. You should be the expert on here.
I learned and forgot how to say dog, cat, cow, brother, sister. As far as I got on Duolingo. I'm not a good advert for the Duolingo app during lockdown.
Your little owl will be so sad with you.
Yeah, I don't. I think the owl's buggered off my app as well.
Owl's
just left my phone, disappeared off into the night. I've got a random fact for you. Talking of owls, here's one for you.
You've been on your podcast again.
Yeah, so I listened to a podcast called "There's No Such Thing as a Fish," and it's from the guys who write QI. And they had a fact that in Japan, the trains go so fast that when they go through a tunnel, there's a sonic boom when they come out. So if you live anywhere near a train tunnel, you'll get waking up by the time, or the nightmare to live next to. So the designer of the trains looked at how birds fly. He looked at owls in particular, and how they managed to fly silently. And he changed the design of the train to replicate the shape and design of an owl. And that's what cut the noise of the sonic boom. So, completely random fact thrown in there for you.
That's interesting. So they've got trains have got really big faces and really narrow bodies then.
Yeah, weird legs that you don't realise exist on owls until people lift up the feathers at the bottom, and then it's they're like those toys that have just got the sort of dangling legs.
They maybe just tied an owl onto the front of all the trains to stop them. I think we've lost Kat. I think she's. We've got a really happy, smiling face frozen there. At least it's not sipping a cup of tea or coughing or something. And she'll be back soon. She's away to to warm up the gerbil or the hamster, get that wheel turning again. So you've been with CVH, or was it would have been Distell when you joined, or was it CVH?
Distell when I joined, yeah. But still, loads of people just refer to it as Burn Stewart, which is what it was sort of the 90s and into 2000s. And then, so that was a sort of private Scottish company. Then Distell was a big South African company that did a lot of wine and beer and cider. So like Savannah Cider was part of their brands and things like that.
Cool.
And a couple of years ago, Heineken made a deal, or basically bought out Distell, but they didn't have any interest in spirits. So we were basically like carved out from that. And then, we've become CVH Spirits, which is like one of the most uninspiring names. But anyway, I'm sure there's a reason behind it. And so, like last month was the sort of 1 year anniversary of that existing. And it's quite good because like what we're finding is we're now kind of back in control. It's not a big corporation elsewhere. So that's kind of leading to hopefully a bit of a change in our strategy over the next few years. And we aim to be trying to like shift to making probably more single malts and premiumizing a bit, rather than still quite like we have like the Black Bottle and Scottish Leader brands as well within our group. So they're still really important, but we're trying to start basically distilling more, laying down more for maturation, so that over time we'll be able to kind of do more single malts. So when you work in a distillery, that's definitely the sort of thing that you want to hear.
Yeah.
That's the route the company want to go down. So yeah, that's been really positive for us, and we'll just kind of see how that goes.
Yeah, because it's not been long since Tobermory reopened, is it? Because it shut down for a couple of years? Yeah,
sort of like 2018, and then they got quite a lot of work done. And then it was reopened, but we've almost been kind of like properly stepping up how much we make every year. And a lot of that's going into Leitchik as well. Like the peated is doing really well. I think you've kind of got like a lot of room to explore there as well. So like obviously Bunnahabhain's like an unpeated one, even though it's from Islay. So like we're kind of associated with that, but then we've actually got pretty good peated brand with Leitchik. And then I think once people do step outside of thinking you've just got to have an Islay whiskey for a peated one, then when they try stuff like that, I think it's usually pretty, cause it's fairly peated as well. Like it's got a good level to it, but it's definitely not as like medicinal as some of the other ones. So I think it does appeal to people that like that kind of like sweeter.
Yeah, it's kind of more similar to a mainland kind of peat, isn't it? It's more bonfire and ash rather than medicinal coastal. It's quite unusual for a company to have an Islay distillery that isn't the kind of flagship peat, and it's a good way of introducing people. Yeah.
So there's a couple of questions have come in there as well about my introduction to whiskey and what made me want to work in the industry. That's a good one. Like the introduction was probably just kind of twofold. So when I left oil and gas, I actually just went back to university and went to Heriot-Watt and did their degree in brewing and distilling. So then you basically just meet loads of people who are just going to like spread out across these two industries, and you keep in contact. But I think as well, like at that time, I was just starting to get more and more into whiskey, because probably my initial thoughts was wanting to get into beer. But I think that coincided with throughout the 2010s, beer was getting like better quality, there was more variety, there was new styles, but it definitely, in my opinion, sort of like crested a hill. And then I think that it started to get into people were creating new stuff for the sake of having a different variety that could be on a shelf, because I was the same, that you'd almost go into a pub and you go, oh, there's something I've not tried before, I want that. But then I kind of felt it wasn't getting as quite as good, and then I was like drinking more whiskey, and my friends were into it. So yeah, when the job at Deanston came up, that was probably just a big shift, and then like not looking back, because whiskey is so much better as an industry for just long-term thinking. And kind of like quite a common thing that I'll say with people is like working in these distilleries that have been like, 60 years old or 140 years old or 200 and something years old. We're just here for like a little part of their like overall lifespan.
Yeah.
You want it to still be going in the same amount of time in the future. So that's kind of like a lot of the thinking. Another thing is the industry is just very good at being collaborative. Certainly the distillery side, like everyone helps each other out, and all distillery managers are very happy to just like invite other people around and show them what they're up to. There's like no secrets, and I just think it's generally like a brilliant industry to work in, and you hear that from people all throughout the like no matter what role they're in. So
we hear it every week on the Blether. It's how good an industry it is, and how people always help out and are, like you say, willing to share techniques and secrets and stuff.
Like Isla is just the best example, because I mean you're completely restricted by ferries, and ferries are getting worse all the time. So it's a real challenge to try and manage getting malted barley onto the island, and to get casks on if you're filling there, and then to get your spirit off if it's going off in tankers or casks away. But everyone just kind of like helps. So, if someone had something planned in, but they've got enough malt to see them through the week, and someone else is struggling, like they offer up spaces, and they kind of just do all that for the general good. There's definitely no like, nope, this is my slot. Like, sorry, it's so helpful, and like you just sort of build up all these people that are inviting you constantly around all the distilleries, which some people think it must be like a busman's holiday, but it's not. It's just like every single time you go around, you just end up having all these like random little questions, like, oh, what do you do here? That looks different, or like, I've got this problem. Have you had this? So I just don't see myself leaving the industry. And I think that's something that's quite common. Like people come in, but very few people leave the industry.
It gets under your skin, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Awesome, that's cool. Yeah, we had a guest on quite some time ago, I think, and I think was it Billy or Rachel maybe, who said that you're just whoever's the blender or whoever's in charge, they're just custodians of the brand.
It was Billy Walker.
It was Billy, wasn't it? Yeah.
Because I totally stole that and use it in all my tours now. But it was him. But it's true. It's such a true saying. Like, that's the lovely thing about distilleries as well. When you walk around them, like obviously they've been bought and sold over the years, and you can all see it's almost like a tapestry, and you can see the different bits that have been stitched in by different generations of ownership over the years, and you can see where technology is modernized and where they've added bits. A lot of times innovation was created because Scottish folk are just cheap and savvy, and they were just trying to reuse whatever it is they create. And you can tell the history through kind of the different points around the distillery, which I always love seeing. So it's right enough.
I love have you seen the Fearing bottle from the Cabrick distillery?
I've looked, I have seen the bottle, but not up close.
The tag that comes with a little booklet that's wrapped with a orange bit of string. And
like Blether.
Yeah. And it's the orange string is the same that the farmers use for like tying fences up for tying. Pretty much. It's like a barman with blue roll. It does every job you can.
It's true. I was in farming for 10 years, and if you can't fix it with orange baler tow, then it's not worth fixing. Like everything from cows with broken legs to houses, just tie it up.
So they put that into the bottle because when you drive through Canberra, you see this orange tow everywhere. Yeah, I love that. I thought that's awesome. Cool nod. But
I didn't know that. That's cool.
So of the 3 distilleries, Andrew, is Deanston still your baby, or do you have to treat them all with the same love?
So Andrew Brown again from Bunnahabhain takes the mickey because I've still not changed my voicemail on my phone that says you're through to Andrew at Deanston Distillery. So you will always go, Andrew at Deanston Distillery, call me back. So then I have to always say I'm not biased, that I treat everyone the same. But yeah, I was having this chat with someone a couple of weeks ago. It was Kirsty who used to run the distilleries at Glenfiddich and Balvenie and Kinnimbie, and we were chatting about it, and I was like, there's something about distilleries, especially like almost the first one that you worked with, that I think you just also get a real emotional attachment to, and it's quite difficult probably to let that completely go. So I think you do become very attached to it, and I think that the challenges are different between the 3, which helps, but I've kind of got to almost tread this line between so Murray's now the manager there, and just letting him get on with it because it's not my job anymore, but still always just chatting with the operators when you've got the chance, and still just seeing what's going on. And there's a few places where I've worked in the past, and eventually over time you start thinking, like, here I am again. But I never get that with Deanston. So I'm still based out of there, but it's, I don't know if you've been, but it's on the River Teeth, and when you turn off to drive towards it, there's a slight bend in the road. So when you first turn towards it, it's just like trees that are all in the way, and then you just turn the slight bend, and then it all appears in front of you. And I still kind of get a wow factor when I see that. And also, like, I'm always telling people, just take photos at different times throughout the year, because it is such a good spot with the river on one side, the distillery, you've kind of got trees the other side of the river, so the trees will change throughout the year. Right now they're bright green and they're completely like creating this arch over the road. They become the bane of our life during autumn when they all fall into our gutters and need to be cleared. But yeah, you get it as it transforms into all becoming like proper autumnal and golden, and then when it all falls and in winter and there's like snow along the place, so it just like it completely changes. And then when you each year we'll try and upgrade bits and solve problems, it just kind of feels like watching something grow in that way. So yeah, I think I will probably always have a soft spot for it, and that will, regardless of what happens, I think I'll always keep going back there to catch up. There's actually a question in the chat as well about Ian McMillan. He still keeps coming along every now and again because he was so heavily involved in it reopening and kind of becoming what it is, that I think there's a few people that are like that just coming back.
We had a question from Tim who's watching on YouTube. Did you get a chance to work with Ian McMillan, and how influential was he with the distilleries at the time?
So no, I've never worked with Ian, but he's massively influential, and he pretty much, when it was Invergordon, they reopened it, and then kind of going into Burn Stewart, like that was basically him that was doing all the running of the distillery, and he was involved in the blending and getting the casks and stuff. And I think probably the main thing which I think will always be credited to him is that in the early 2000s, Burn Stewart started bottling at 46.3%. So then it all became unchill filtered.
Right.
That was, like, I think, well ahead of its time when he made that decision. And I think that was pretty much him. And it was definitely the right decision. And it works for all the whiskies. And, you know, especially like something like Deanston, where like a big flavour contribution is like the waxiness and the full-bodiedness and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you've got in all those like long chain fatty acids and stuff. So that was really really well done. But yeah, just kind of like managing the distilleries, that included when Bunnahabhain was brought into the group. So that used to be part of Highland. And then early 2000s, that Burn Stewart brought that, and he was sort of involved with bringing them into the group. So yeah, he's like a well-known big figure in the industry, and is pretty much like more than 20 years worth of the history of the place. So I mean, there's still half the operators at Deanston, they were recruited by him.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like still a strong link. There's still some of them will say we do it this way because Ian says so.
20 years with Ian, it's a third of the distillery's life, isn't it? It's only
a little the 80s as well, so you know, it's the majority. It's almost like becoming half of its work producing life.
Some guy. That's pretty cool. I love that kind of legacy where they just that's the way we do it because he said so, and he's been he's left a few years back. That's pretty cool. I'm just pouring myself a Deanston actually. So this is not official bottling again. It's you're going to be able to see that. This is Woodrow's of Edinburgh, great indie bottler, and they did a Deanston 15-year-old
for another whiskey shop.
For another whiskey shop. Yeah, we do talk about other whiskey shops.
We're not going to talk about that.
I'm not going to name them, but yeah. No, this is Barrels and Botanicals, which is a wee shop in Turriff, who's been around. I think it must be about 4 years now.
Is it as new as that?
Yeah, I think. Because I met Mark at Glen Allachie Distillery. It was a distillery exclusive, and when we queued up, we had to queue 2 meters apart. So it was during lockdown, and he hadn't opened then. He was thinking of opening.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't think he's been around too long. But this is it's a sherry octave, sherry quarter cask. But it's a really nice job. And to my shame, it's the only Deanston I have in my collection, so I'll have to rectify that.
I know I don't have one actually, but we all know that my collection is quite pish anyway. But I will need. I will need to get, because do you remember me and Mike did a whiskey tasting at a squash club? We get around, and the favourite whiskey of the night was Deanston, and we did it first. Yeah, we did it first, and quite often, sometimes when you do one at the start, people kind of forget, and you say, "What was your favourite?" Then go the last one, but. By the end of the night, and everybody's had a fair skinful, it was still the firm favourite at the end of the night, wasn't it? The Virgin Oak Deanston. Yeah,
it was. It's a cracking dram, the Virgin Oak. We use it quite a lot. We offer a tasting. It's kind of a cask exploration. So we do a Virgin Oak, a bourbon, a sherry, and Deanston's pretty much always the Virgin Oak.
I think it's always a good sign of a good new make spirit if it can sit inside Virgin Oak and not get lost, because Virgin Oak, it can be such an overwhelming cast to work with, and I think a lot of whiskey struggle with it, but Deanston, you can just pick out all the flavors. It doesn't get lost. It doesn't fight with it. It just seems to work really, really well.
Nice, that's pretty much what Julianne says. Like, that's kind of why we're quite big on it, because it just balances. You get like a real honeyedness to it and stuff, but you're just not getting overpowered by any tannins or any overly woodiness that would just not be so nice. So it's something that we're quite lucky with Deanston, that I think it can hold its own against quite a lot of casks. They did the tequila cask last year, which was pretty interesting. And again, like you can really smell the tequila when you nose it, but then afterwards, when you taste it, like Deanston just properly comes through. It's not like it's been overpowered. But that must be pretty cool what you've got, because like Deanston typically is in bourbon, and like not a lot of stuff goes out in sherry casks. Like the distilleries usually got plenty of exclusives that are in them, but in terms of like what most people try would usually be an American oak.
Yeah, so it's a refill bourbon barrel finished. So I think Woody's probably bought a bourbon barrel and then finished it himself.
Yeah.
So like Ed, who's watching YouTube, he says he needs to get more Deanston in particular in his life. But he's had a few of the others. By that, I guess he means Tobermory and Bunnahabhain. But he's never got around. He always enjoys them in tastings, but never gets around to buying the Deanston. We've got a question from Rick coming in. Does Deanston make any of their casks available to independent bottlers? I've just been thinking about that as well, because you quite often see Bunnahabhain as an independent, and you quite often see Lechick, but not so much Tobermory. Lechick you get quite often in indies. But Deanston, the only other one I could think of off the top of my head was an Alistair Walker Infrequent Flyers Deanston. It's not common, is that deliberate?
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff that would have went to independent bottlers as well might have been a few years ago, and I think that there's even less so now. Still with Bunnahabhain, there's always going to be, but I think that just is something that allows them to experiment. Usually, again, kind of just continuing on the sherry theme, but I don't know with Deanston. I don't know the background, whether it just either wasn't sought after, because like Deanston has generally throughout its history just not been very well known. It's sort of came into existence to go into blends and spent a lot of its life doing that. And now we're probably trying to get above 15% will be going to single malt, but it's still a very small volume of what it makes goes into blends. So I don't know whether it just wasn't really available, or if people just were looking for other stuff.
Yeah. Just Big Pour says that Little Brown Dog did a crack in Deanston.
Did they do?
I think that was the Tyndrum exclusive. Okay. It was a Deanston. I haven't come across that one, and I would know about Little Brown Dog, but I know they did the Tyndrum exclusive. So I wonder if it was for them.
Yeah, a few of the independent bottlers as well will kind of get casks like from third parties, like casks of Deanston from third parties of us. So it's probably not like a direct relationship all the time as well. But that's just someone else I found when I came into whiskey, just sort of like how much of like that network grows, and again, just sort of like the independent bottlers is quite good because it just gives them a chance to do very small scale but like experimental stuff. Again, that place that we were in the Port Charlotte Hotel, like they had a whole bunch of like these Bunnahabhain independent ones, and like we get so used to just drinking our own like stuff that we've bottled that it was quite good to be able to try what other people have made out of our own stuff.
And that's a good thing about indies, isn't it? That you could be an avid fan of, say, Deanston, and while you have kind of annual releases and special, like the PX Organic, I think the one that comes to mind, which was a phenomenal jam. It's still quite limited in what you guys produce or what the distillery. Indies give you that kind of ever-evolving variance of style and variety in casks. It gets pretty cool. It's great for whiskey geeks who don't want to settle for core range.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
I think that's also where Isla's Festival is just good, because you know that all of them are going to do something special that year, and it gets bigger and bigger, and like more and more sort of planning goes into what we're going to do for next year and so on. I think Julianne's actually planning for this year's festival to try and do something where it can be almost a bit like consumer led with what next year's one will be. So I think she's got some exciting stuff planned for people that are going to be at the distillery to help influence future ones.
That's pretty cool. They always say Bunnahabhain's the locals' favourite, don't they? All the A-lists love Bunnahabhain. It seems to be their favourite one. But maybe it's just because it's, I don't know, sweet and not peated, I guess.
Different.
Maybe. It's great for a palate cleanser when people have too much peat. I'll just give me a Bunna and it'll just be a nice refreshing change.
Not a drink of water or anything. Just give me a non-peated whiskey.
I'll pass that on to our marketing people and see whether they want to use that. It is a palate cleanser.
Do you want a washi oot? Hey, a Bunnahabhain.
Have you had too much peat?
Yes, there's something there for it. There's something. It's probably less peaty than the water in Islay as well. So
Probably, yeah.
I know, you're probably right enough, actually. You always have like a tide line on your bath when you're on the west coast, don't you? From it's just where it's like stained the side of your bath.
Andrew, what's in your glass? I don't think we got right to ask you.
So mine's is Deanston 18, and that is because that's what's in my decanter that I got last year.
I love that you have a decanter. I think you might be our first Blether decanter user.
Yeah, which like it's just a good way of making sure that I've always got loads of Deanston 18 in the cupboard because it's very visible. I mean, it's a clear glass anyway, but like there's no label to like get in the way, and it's actually something I was chatting about with one of my like mates from school when I was up at Christmas, because he's got like this great little, well, not little, massive cabinet that he's had built in his house, but he's got an empty decanter sat right front and center. And I was like, what are you going to put in it? He's like, I just don't know. I can't make a decision. I was like, you either just got to go with like, what do you buy all the time? Like, what's always there? And just, you need to live in a bottle, and it's like your house whiskey. So I was like, do that. Or you can go down the infinity bottle route, but that one is higher risk because if you put something in it and you think it doesn't work, you're going to have to like make more space in the bottle to top it up with something else. So that was my
thing. You don't like round and pour them a dram just to get rid of some of it.
Yeah. So yeah, I have been doing that since last year, and it's a good way of constantly. I probably buy an unreasonable amount of Deanston 18-year-old. It's literally my favourite. I'm totally biased, I accept that, but it's my favourite like of all like core range whiskies.
So what's the casks for Deanston 18? Is it ex-bourbon ones as well, or is it a bit different?
Yeah, so it's refill for 16 years, and then it's finished in first fill bourbons for the last 2 years.
This sounds like it might be my favourite Deanston. I'm going to write this one down. I'm going to come around your house.
Because you've just got this like real nice slow maturation. You know, you're not trying to influence it too much. You're just letting it age and mature. And then that sort of like first fill bourbon to round it off, give it a bit of spiciness and a bit of vanilla and honey. But again, because I'm usually quite biased, that I like spirit. I like whiskies that are like a lot of flavour coming from the spirit, because that's my world. That Deanston kind of does that. Like it's so prominent in it, but it's a very balanced whiskey. Like it's never going to offend anyone, and it's like, you know, because there's no peat, there's no sherry. It's just like very well balanced. So you can have it any time of year, and it just always feels like it fits in.
That sounds like a good decanter whiskey. What would you put in your decanter? My mum's got 2 decanters sitting out in her dining room, and I asked her what there was in them. She's like, I don't know. I filled them up ages ago. No idea. So like they're just mystery malts in her dining room. She doesn't know. Talking of which, she's actually phoning me right just now. Hang on 2 seconds till I get rid of my mother.
What would I put in? I would probably go with an Ardmore, personally, I think.
I was there yesterday.
Ah, sheesh.
Such a lovely place with a great tasting.
I was there 2 weeks ago, actually. Alistair Longwell took me around.
Were you actually?
That was one of the best distilleries that I have been around. And to say that's not a site set up for visitors, it's also one of the most immaculate, which I think is a great testament to like how much they look after it. But also the stuff that they've got in there, again, for a site that doesn't have tourists, they've got that old steam engine tucked in there with what used to basically drive the distillery, and it's just in a little cabinet, perfectly polished, and it just looks so cool.
Did you see the big shiny tap next to the beautiful mash tun? It's the shiniest tap in the industry. Like, it's just so well polished. I take visitors just to see the tap. I'm like, look at this tap, guys. Just don't touch it. But look.
That's where I was going to go, though. Like, that mash tun, although like Alistair was admitting like they're now kind of having to start going through the long, slow goodbye process and accepting it'll need to have some sort of upgrade in the relatively near future. But my favourite bit is the mash house opposite, like the mashman's station, and I've never seen that elsewhere, where it's got 8 valves that are around it, so you can basically just do everything. Whereas like at Deanston, you've got to just do laps of the mash tun to like get to all the valves. And I just thought that was like the cleverest thing for like someone when they were building that decades ago to think, well, one guy's going to operate it, so like let's bring the pipe work to him and have the valves all there for him to do everything. I
love that the computer is literally inside all the old kind of original equipment, because it kind of looks like a giant Etch-a-Sketch, because you've got these kind of rotating valves with the screen. It's like, everything they do is just on an Etch-a-Sketch, but it's got one of the best preserved archives out of any of the brands in the industry. Did you go into the archive room, or were you just in where the production areas are?
No.
It's just when you come in, just next to the car park, it's like the little wee kind of building by itself. So
features.
Because like we're also very boring, we were looking at their effluent plant and stuff like that. Nice. So I don't think that's where he would probably take people doing tastings and tours normally.
Why do you never take us there?
I'll take you to the effluent plant next time if you want to go. But it's so far down the other end, and you've got to walk all the way back up to warehouse number 5. It's a long walk.
Warehouse number 5 is worth any walk. Absolutely.
Yes. It is.
Yeah. I just love the little what's the name for the bit that's on the train line where they do the
signal house.
Yeah. Like I think he said that's still one of the last that's like manually operated, and like he was telling me how years ago when they used to kind of go out and give all the people that like were nearby their bottles of whiskey. He'd been doing it for years, and then one year he took his daughter with him to help him hand out these Christmas whiskies, and it was also going to like the signal man. And the guy was like, "Oh, do you want to come and like do the signal? Oh, there's a train coming. You can actually." And Alistair was like, "I have been doing this for years, and I've never been invited." And he was like, "I still didn't get asked to do it." So his daughter Sophie was able to play with it, and he was just standing at the side like, "This is my dream, and I'm still not getting to do it."
Oh, good.
Oh, it's such a special place. It's so cool. Oh, that's awesome that you're over there.
Yeah, well, it took me to Glengarry as well on the same day, which was just like seeing a total
2 weeks ago. Where the hell was I then? Hang on. I must have been there because, well, okay. I think we probably passed each other at some point then, because like, I was there last time Alistair was over.
Unless did we meet in the visitor centre? So
do you know what I think we actually did?
He was basically explaining to me all about the greenhouses and everything.
Yes, oh my God, we met. Alistair introduced you to me. I came out of the toilet. Holy fuck. So, I mean, sorry.
That's awkward in front of everyone, isn't it?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. We did meet a couple of weeks ago. Yes. Oh yeah, okay. I remember now. Sorry.
I'm so glad I mentioned Ardmore for my
It's a good setup, well done.
I didn't know Alistair was bringing MD over, so I literally came through the doors. I come down from the office, going into the bathroom, come through, and Alistair's like, "Oh, this is Andrew." And yeah, sorry, I didn't make the connection. So yeah, sorry, Rick, I did say the F word. I'm sorry. drop the F bomb.
Pre-watershed as well. Terrible.
I know pre-watershed. Sorry, guys. I'll put a penny in the spare jar. Which will go towards
I like that. Like, I like seeing the mixture again of like the old and the new, and kind of what's being done there. Suntory must be quite good fun though, with all the traditional methods and stuff being brought back, even though it's got loads of challenges, especially for someone like Alistair, who's trying to minimize energy usage and water usage at the same time. But,
I know, but we're doing really well.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we're on something else this week around peatland restoration. Like, Alistair's basically just leading the way.
Yeah.
On that for the whole industry. So that's like really good. And again, that's just probably going back to the beginning, just all that collaboration stuff that was just on the back of, I think, he was at Deanston in February, and I've met like that was a group with like there's an SWA group that we're on, and then a few of the people who took me around to Deanston afterwards, and it's like the best tour that I've given because everyone was so genuinely just excited about bits of equipment. Because I think when you go around these distilleries that have got all the old equipment, everyone just like, because it's not like, talking about automated systems. People are like, oh, like, what's this like? And they're like, oh, can we see the rakes? There's a big open top mash tun at Deanston, so you can see everything. And they're like, oh, can we turn the rake? Can the rake get turned? And you had to go and like find an operator. And it's like, is it all right to like rake the mash right now? He's like, yeah, I was going to do it in 5 minutes. It's fine. And then everyone's watching it, dead excited to see like an old traditional mash tun going. So yeah, then he basically like offered to come and show us up there in return. So it was
we had a group of journalists that came over. They were working on the Ardrey blend that the company does. And they all decided to do angels in the malt. And I was like, I made a joke. I was like, oh yeah, don't let me catch you doing a malt angel. So they all just got in and started doing these malt angels. And when the malt men came back, they were like, what the hell has been going on in here? There's like lots of people shaped kind of malt angels all around about the floor. So sorry, guys. But yeah, I mean, like when you see these old, like it were quite rare to see all these kind of old traditional ways. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and going around those like Maltons at like Glengarry and also like the old stuff at Ardmore, that's now basically the same stuff at Bunnahabhain, but it's all been converted into warehouses and things. So it's quite cool just seeing that going. It's all got that same like pillars just along big long wooden floors. That was the other thing at Ardmore when he took us like behind where a load of the old stuff was stored. He was showing like the old work cooler from I don't know how long ago, the one where it just basically flows over the open fins to cool it down. And then he was saying there's probably only about 2 of these left that are still like not being scrapped. So that was just also cool to see all that old stuff.
Well, Rick has pointed out in the chat that people want to see Ardmore, they have to go and do Mike's Highland Whisky Academy. So thank you for promoting that for us, Rick. Is he on commission? Is there something I don't know about?
He can be if he wishes. Yeah. It must be about time for Rick to be pouring his first dram now. It must be almost 12 o'clock there. So if you are, Rick, let us know what's going in the glass. I'm enjoying kind of flicking out because the chat's coming up with quite a few guys talking about infinity bottles, which is quite cool. Rick has also mentioned on YouTube that we've got 80% like rate on our YouTube channel at the moment, which is better percentage than Roy gets. Which is
no way! Yeah, that's really cool. I'll definitely make sure not to swear again.
We'll have to use that 8 out of 10 whiskey geeks like the Blether.
That's a really good statistic when you kind of put it out as that.
I really want to know about the 20% who haven't liked it yet.
Well, they're not worth knowing.
Who are they?
Yeah. So we've got Infinity Whiskey. So Alan Ward has got a World Whiskey Infinity bottle with everything in it, including a load of sediment, which sounds pretty cool. Tim Powell's has got an Infinity bottle, but sorry?
I was going to say I don't have an Infinity bottle because I never actually get a bottle low enough to the bottom to put anything else in it.
We've got 3 behind the bar at the shop, and I've just started a 4th one as well.
Are they like different themed ones, like
Yeah,
regions?
there's a full bourbon, a full sherry, and then a mix of peat. So kind of the three classic flavors, I suppose. So when we get down to the bottom, the ends of bottles, maybe 2 nips, maybe sometimes less, it goes into that. So next time you're in the shop and you're up in the bar, ask for one of our infinity bottles. I don't have a personal one, although it's something I've always talked about. And I would, because we have loads of sample bottles kicking around at the house. It'd be great to just throw them into a bottle.
And what I found as well is like the number of 3CLs that you get, you can probably just make loads of stuff just using up them. My sister got me like one of those infinity bottle presents, which is basically someone just buying me a glass bottle, to be honest. But
just an empty bottle.
She knew I was into whiskey, so it was a cheaper way for her to give me a whiskey present, which is clever. Like I've tried that, but it just becomes a challenge to like keep making space in it without, because you're drinking other stuff as well. So
yeah,
it's a bit of a slow moving one, that one, to be honest.
Ed has put on, his wife did a tour of Ardmore from a photography point of view. Sadly, she doesn't like whiskey, so he had to do the complimentary tasting.
It is very photogenic, but it's funny because I just had this conversation with a couple that came into the distillery like last week, and she had been part of a photography like group or class, and they'd all got to go around Ardmore. So I'm wondering if your wife was part of the same group, Ed, or whether I was just actually speaking to you and your wife the other day there, and I've just forgotten somebody else that I apparently spoke to recently.
You must meet so many people.
I guess I do. Do you know, my problem is I do meet a lot of people, and sometimes I can't remember if I've met them at the shop with you, Mike, or at the distillery. And like people say, "Oh, Kat," I'm like, "Yes, hello." I'm like, "How do I know you?" But it's all good though.
People see you on here as well and know you, but you've never actually met them.
I've never seen their faces. I know. Oh, this was over a decade ago, Ed. Okay, that's fine. So it probably wasn't the people I met last week. That's fine.
Not quite. Alan Ward has got it on his bucket list to make a peated malt angel. Come on the academy and we'll get you in.
Don't do it in the maltings though. You might just get lost in some sort of big vat.
Not at the moment.
Peated is a very specific one to go for there. That's going to be a much bigger challenge. Little peated malt spread out for you to do that.
It is, and your hair, like you'd come away quite stinky, but in a good way, I suppose.
Rick has poured himself the Bunnahabhain hand-filled 2004 Manthania cask.
Wow. Rick is living at large.
He is. And with that, he's got a question for us. Andrew, as head of distilleries, is it your job to acquire casks for the distilleries as well?
That is primarily Julianne's job. So, it falls within the master blender. But there's a bit of an overlap in a shared space. But the second part of the question, is it getting more difficult? That is definitely a yes. And everyone is feeling that, and everyone is talking about it. There's just less bourbon being drunk in America. So that whole side of the world has got less casks than, being disgorged and made available. So that's going to just continue to be a challenge until we can get more bourbon being drunk, probably.
And is it more people are drinking American malt whiskey?
I don't know the answer to that. I know that there's a lot of companies who are kind of struggling with sales of like Scotch whiskey in America. So I don't know if it's just a general trend for
generational.
Yeah, like stuff over there, or if there's anything bigger at play. But there is now a bit of talk around, how can you start using virgin oak? So, if that virgin oak, in our case, being used for a finish on something, then how close is that going to be for becoming like a first fill? So Rick's on it now. He's going to sort out the problem.
Do that. Pick up the bourbon.
So yeah, like that's kind of one side, and then probably sherry's been a bit of a challenge for a long time. So I think overall, because Scotch whisky's generally producing more, there's more distilleries being built as well. Like things are generally still quite good, but cask supply is a problem. But Coopring's also generally getting better and better all the time, so we're able to repurpose older stuff more. So there's a bit of a balance on that end, which is good. But I think it will just continue to help lead to like more innovation as well. And
yeah. Well, you see that with like a tequila cask and things coming out.
Yeah.
So many different wine finishes as well from like lots of world wines. I guess that's what's contributing to it. I think warehousing is another problem for a lot of distilleries too. Even once they've got the casks, they haven't got anywhere to bloody put them.
Yep. So if you've got spare land, put up a warehouse and you'll do well.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a wee veranda. I might just pop up a wee sheddy and see how many casks I can get in there.
Yeah. There we go. Guys, that's your invite. If you can build a warehouse in Cat's back garden, you get an invite round to the house.
Yeah, you'd have to build me a back garden first. I've only got a roof decking, but yeah, like I've got enough folk on here to make that happen, I'm sure.
And I guess that must be an issue where a lot of the new distilleries, you look at the distilleries that have kind of opened up in the last, probably going back to maybe even Arran, they've all been single malts without going to blends. I don't think there's been any that's been opened for blenders in the last kind of 20, 30 years. So the fact that they're keeping the casks probably longer or more in-house, I suppose. If a whiskey's going off for a blend, they're getting decanted maybe a little bit younger, a little bit quicker, and that cask goes back into the market. If these guys are keeping it longer, and there's more of them, isn't there?
Yeah. And especially as you kind of go more towards single malts in general across the whole place, that's aging for longer than if you're going in for blends and you're maybe going to be 3 years plus a little bit. Those casks are kind of getting turned around and made available sooner and sooner. But if you're maturing everything for 5 or 8 or 12 years, like they're kind of off the market for that period of time.
Yeah.
The other times right now, like, generally whiskey sales are just down across the industry. So again, that means even like all of us in Scotland are just disgorging less.
Yeah.
And that's just stuff staying in casks for longer. So we still try to produce a lot of spirit, but we're not disgorging it at the same rate as what we were doing last year or the year before. So that's kind of making the problem a bit more acute at the moment. But those trends can generally sort of smooth themselves out. It's probably more like if there's wider trends going on in American stuff, that'll be a challenge.
Because we did see, was it last year? Was it 23? It was the first time that whiskey sales had gone down for a number of years. It went from 50 bottles per second to 44 bottles per second or something. It's quite a big drop below 6 billion. I know.
Ed's asked about Buckfast.
I guess it may just do with
second time I've heard that this week.
Buckfast cast.
This week.
Yeah, someone else mentioned it on Tuesday, and I'm like, maybe there's a demand for Buckfast casks now.
Maybe.
I guess it's a fortified wine, isn't it? So
yeah, we'll see what the lawyers at the SWA think around it being a traditional cask. But yeah,
I do know we were on. It was during lockdown. We did a lot of virtual tastings, and one of the guys on the virtual tasting seasoned just a wee one of the week in a 30-liter cask. He seasoned that with Buckfast and poured whiskey into it. And yeah, he did not appreciate the results.
Maybe Linders need to do it, because like Buckfast is Buckfast Abbey, isn't it? So it was like originally made by monks. So maybe like Linders need to sort of hone in on that connection with their Linders Abbey and make a Bucky version. That might be.
If anything, it might be their next April Fool link.
They'd have to sell it in a brown paper bag though. Like that would be the sort of packaging that would have to come in.
Yeah, but then I think like the amount of people that would be getting obsessed by the number on the bottle would like increase tenfold.
That's true as well. I wonder, yeah, what's left out there that we could play around with casks? There's so much different booze out there made globally. There should be all sorts. But then the problem is it has to be oak, I guess, isn't it? Like, will we run out of oak eventually? I don't know. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But yeah, what would be the dream? What would be the dream weird cask? In terms of world spirits, Mike, what would you want to see, like, cask that we don't already use? Well, I'd say cider.
Well, yeah, we kind of flirted with that with Glenmorangie, didn't we? They did the cider cask and then got.
What was the Glenfiddich one that had the apple?
It was apple sour.
Orchards. Yeah. Well, it wasn't cider though, was it? It was like I don't know, what did they call it? The orchard something, or?
It was orchard, yeah. Orchard cask, orchard experiment.
Yeah.
Vermouth cask would be quite cool. Getting that wormwood, that earthy flavors, or cachaça, something quite raw. I think would be pretty awesome.
Yeah. We'll have to have a proper think about that. Answers on a postcard, guys. Like, what would be the next trend? Because the tequila is obviously the trend just now. But what's going to be the next tequila?
I'm wondering if you're right, like cachaça or something else, like in South America, where is it pisco stuff that's like basically a big massive argument between Chile and Peru around the correct method of doing it. But I mind having, it was very young, but there was like one that we had out there that had been cask matured for, because again, normally it's a white spirit, but yeah, they'd done something that was matured in cask for a short period of time, which was actually pretty good. So yeah, that could be interesting. I bet there'll be hardly any casks available though, so it's like there'll be a handful available for that experiment.
You know, there's maybe a distillery sitting with spirit in a cask right now waiting for the rules to change on that one. They could be the first to release it.
There must be some distilleries there with like something of everything just waiting for that.
I bet Kilchoman do, because they've always got like quite unusual, or yeah, I bet there's an interesting one sitting in the back of Kilchoman shed somewhere. Who knows?
I think Rick did ask Andrew a question. Oh yeah, it's that question, isn't it? The new make. If you could choose one type of finishing cask, what would it be?
Favorite new make spirit and choose one type of finishing cask. What would it be? That's a really good one. So probably with new make spirits, I'm trying to think where'd go that. I do probably like a lot of Highland stuff if it's still quite fruity and things like that. Generally not so much stuff that's going to be more like cereal or vegetable. So probably something
like Langini, for example.
Floral. So like, and what type of cask would I go for? Because the honest answer is just going to be ex-bourbon, but I'm just trying to think if there's an answer that's more interesting than that.
That's a good answer. That's the best answer.
Do you prefer first fill or refill bourbon casks?
First fill, just so like you're still getting a bit of that, like whether it's going to be coconut or sort of honey or vanilla or something, that you can definitely pick it out. Maybe, yeah, kind of find that they give you like sometimes a bit of almost like peppery, white pepper type spiciness and things. So that's probably generally what I like, but then I think when you start getting into some of the different like sherry casks, because festival last year, they did a Bunnahabhain and a Canasta cask, which was just really good. That was something I hadn't tried before, and then we had an issue in one of the warehouses at Bunnahabhain as well, that we ended up wanting to move a lot of casks out of it just to sort of protect them. That had a lot of these Canasta ones as well, so we got to basically nose through a lot of them to just to check on them as we went. And that was a good day.
I can imagine you get a lot of good days like that, don't you?
Aye. You need you need those days occasionally just to remind you of all the parts.
Right.
Where's Byron Distillers? Ryan's written that they do macadamia casks.
I was going to say, because we've got Byron's doing macadamia, we've got Stonnon doing sweet vermouth. That sounds pretty cool.
Alan's
Byron,
trying that too.
Is that an English distillery?
I don't know. We need to get out trusty Google. Or maybe Ryan will get there first and tell.
Australian or something, but so making that. I think that's where English whiskey is going to have a real advantage, though, is having a wider range to choose from. You know, a bigger playing field. So they should do like lots of interesting stuff.
Do you think that's something that maybe Scotch is going to have to look at, because you're looking at the Scandinavians as well, the Australians? They've got a huge variety of casks. They're not stuck to oak and this kind of. I mean, it's not limited. It's a huge range of casks that we can use in Scotch whisky, as long as it's oak.
I'm not sure. I think that by having the strict rules, it's also a good protection from ourselves.
So it's finding that balance, isn't it?
Because that probably is like, what I was saying about beer, where it got to a stage of, let's just make something new for the sake of being new. I think that we've almost got a good way of protecting that, and I think it also just means that people, when they're buying Scotch anywhere around the world, like they're going to know that it's got that like minimum level of quality, because it is still protected in like traditional methods and stuff.
Sometimes things are kind of more special because they have 5 stars, more special because it's got the 5 stars. Sometimes you need that kind of criteria, that sort of to elevate it above everything else that's on the market but not as good. I do think it is a good thing to have. And I think they're not completely rigid. I mean, I do think they're obviously aware of the situation in the industry, so they're not going to do anything that's going to detriment it or harm it. If change needs to happen, then I guess change is going to happen.
What we're talking about, such a bigger constraint seems to be colour, because how you're saying with all these wine casks that are becoming available, that it's starting to like take the colour further away from what's deemed normal. So I tend to find that the cask availability to you is still a wider range than what you're actually able to bottle, and sort of deemed still representative of like the colour of Scotch.
So is the colour regulated, or is that part of the regulations?
I can't remember the exact wording, but there's basically something along the lines of it must be representative of the colour and the appearance. There's probably a fancy name for smell and taste of Scotch whisky. So it's like one of these sentences that just always becomes like a routing point.
Okay.
So occasionally you'll hear, probably similar to like the Glenmurray cider cask, where they're sort of politely asked not to do that. I think sometimes there'll be bottles that get out into the market, and then they'll be politely told not to push it so far again.
Yeah. I don't understand why cider can't be used if beer can.
Because someone was proven years ago, like centuries ago, that a beer cask accidentally got filled with spirit for whiskey, and therefore it's okay. It's like
because it's to do with that, isn't it? You have to prove that it was once used in a traditional method or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because tequila is far more traditional in Scotland than cider.
Yeah.
Just around about 2 o'clock in the morning, it becomes a very traditional drink in Scotland.
We should have baby Guinness casks then, if that's the case, or tequila rosé.
Aftershock casks, that would be. Although saying that, there was a distillery quite close to us, finished a Tom and Towel whiskey in absinthe casks. So, but they released it just as whiskey. They didn't have Scotch whiskey or malt whiskey or anything. It was just obviously they knew that it wasn't. And it's funky. It's interesting. It's not an everyday sipper, but it's something quite fun. Yeah. Not one for shotting at the bar at the end of a night, anyway.
No.
My internet disappeared there, so I'm just coming back in on that. But
That's because you took the hair down and it just disrupted all the airwaves in your house.
The size of my hair today, it looks like I'm actually channeling internet just through my hair. It's ridiculous. If I just need to hook myself up to like the grid, trying to improve my internet connection. Or I'm going to go around to Ed's house. Ed lives in Huntly, and he never seems to have any problem with his internet. So I'm going to go around and just bump off of his Wi-Fi. It seems a lot better than my shitty Wi-Fi. I blame the next door neighbours.
Are you not on fibre yet, Kat?
It must be. I don't know. You're asking a Nana these questions, but like, isn't everybody? I don't know. Like, I live in a town. Surely that means I've got like. I don't know. I really don't know. I went to go and buy phone contracts for my kids the other day, or phones, and the guy was just asking me all these questions I did not have answers to. I'm like, I don't know. I just like, this is my phone, and I want them to have these. Like, just make this happen for me. I couldn't use my email address because, long story short, I bought a phone for my son. They had to cancel it because it was the wrong one. It was linked to my email address, so I couldn't reuse it. So I used my work's email address, my saws. But I was waiting, and like the shop was about to close, and I was like, he's like, "Has the email come through yet?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, it should have come through." So he's like, "I'll resend it." And he's like, "Has the email come through yet?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Check your junk." I'm like, "Right, okay, I'll check my junk." And I was like, "No, it's just not come through." And he's like, "Have I spelled your name right?" I'm like, "Oh, Cat." Yeah. Okay, let's double check. But okay. And then I was like, "Wait, have you put an E in whiskey?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, there's the problem. You're an idiot." And then I had like 50 emails all piled through. So now we have phones like modern people, but just rubbish internet.
Can you not run off the hotspot? That's what I do, and I'm in a bigger town than you. Run off the hotspot.
You're asking the wrong person these questions. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh dear. Anyway,
What's
I've just poured
now?
third. Sorry.
What are you on now?
This is my third dram, and another one to get the guys guessing. So this is you can't see the name of it there. Stoisha or Stoisha, I think it's pronounced. Stoisha, yeah. So if you know what a Stoisha is, pop it in the comments. This is a 6-year-old, and this is a bourbon hogshead.
I don't know if I've got anything on brand to go and look for. I must have a Bunnahabhain somewhere.
This is the AD Rattray. So AD Rattray, back up and on the go. They kind of stopped doing some releases for a wee while, and they're back doing some great. We used to work with AD Rattray quite a lot, so I'm keen to get them back on the shelves. Brilliant indie bottler. We did our last Stone Circle release, Cat. The Glengarry was AD Rattray.
Ah, that's cool. That's one of my favourite whiskies ever. I love that one. I found a Bunnahabhain. I've got Woody's Bunnahabhain. So I've got First Fill Oloroso. Oh, American Oak Hogshead. There. That's what. You can try that one next.
Getting on brand. Woody's getting a lot of show today, isn't he? He's getting
I promise we're not on commission for Woodrow.
Just
happened to have a new release today as well. So
I saw that, yeah. Ooh, what's this coming out?
That was the one I was talking. Oh, if I got the blur on, that's going to totally ruin it. So that's the Bunnahabhain Festival bottle that I was saying from last year, the Canasta one. So I thought this was actually quite a good opportunity for me to dig around with stuff I've not had for a wee while. And a couple of weeks ago, we were sort of doing a tasting internally for the new festival bottles that are coming out. Sort of with like the sales team and stuff like that, and that was good fun getting to try the new ones. We've got a sort of triple sherry, which has got what's it got in it? Amontillado, Oloroso, and Manzanilla casks all coming together. That's good. I think Julianne's pretty good at those triple casting. She's also just done one with Blether called Triple Wood. And you can really sort of pick out the different influences. Each one's got its own. They'll just kind of come together and sort of get lost in each other. You can kind of get where they're contributing to it different. So that was good. Then there was also a ruby port, which was kind of following on from last year. There was a tawny port finish, and then we're doing a ruby port one. So yeah, I think lots of good stuff, but yeah, that one that you've got with the Oloroso, that's kind of Bunnahabhain. In a nutshell, it's unpeated into Oloroso hogsheads, and that will be predominantly a lot of where that spirit goes. And it just works. It's so good for as a sherry whiskey, and you kind of get all the fruit cake and a bit of nuttiness and spiciness, and then because a lot of it's matured pretty much right beside the sea, there's always a little bit of like brine there as well. So totally different to Deanston, but something else. It's like it just works.
Yeah. Well, it looks like I've had a lot of it already, but I shared this out with the staff at the
You'll be ready for starting your infinity bottle soon.
That's a good point, actually. This might be the one.
The one.
I'll need to get some tips from everybody about making infinity bottles, or get like I'll have to see your gift that you got from your sister. What's it? I'm intrigued by this gift for an infinity bottle. Did she just get you an empty bottle with like an instruction sheet of add whiskey to this?
I was wanting to ask Mike if you've ever sold these, because she's always getting me presents out of the whiskey shop, so I'd have guessed there was probably a high chance that it was from there, but
it wasn't. No.
It's the cleverest idea in the world to just have an empty glass bottle with a basic white sticker on the front that says infinity bottle, and it comes in a box that also has a little book that you're meant to log each time you add something into it, and the dates that you added it, and if you wanted, it also comes with a block that you can use as like a wax seal, but what's the point in that? Because then you're locking it up. So
yeah, it's not infinity anymore. It's stopped.
No. Yeah,
and I saw the mess of Mike's microwave after he played around with wax seals for a while. It's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, I'll take some.
Yeah. Tim, yes, this Stoisha is a Bunnahabhain. But it's peated Bunnahabhain Stoisha, isn't it? It's because there's the two types. There's Moine and there's Stoisha. I think Stoisha is if you're not naming the distillery.
Yeah. So Stoisha comes from the loch that's behind Bunnahabhain. So that's where all the cooling water comes from. It goes through the condensers. Whereas Bunnahabhain, I think it's also the only distillery on Islay that uses spring water for the actual like process water.
Okay.
Yeah, that there will be like peated Bunnahabhain that's basically just been sold as unbranded, because usually Monya would be the name of we make our own peated Bunnahabhain.
Yeah. It is Gaelic for peat, isn't it, Moyne? Is it not?
That's very sensible if it is. Sometimes you don't need to look too far for the explanation, so I think that you're right.
I only know that I used to live up in Sutherland, where the biggest area of peatland is, and we used to call it the Moyne. And like Moynia is not too far away from that, so I'm assuming it's the same.
And Andrew Brown's always telling me how Isla Gaelic is totally different from Gaelic elsewhere, so they probably have just pronounced it slightly differently.
Yeah. We had that discussion a few weeks ago. I
think we did, didn't we? Was it on the Blether, or was it just in chat to you?
What was it? I think we talked about it in the Blether, but we talked about it on the Blether because somebody in the shop had, or one of our tastings maybe. I think somebody had mentioned, because it's, you know, like all Scotland and England and stuff. When we talk in English, we talk in dialects. In Gaelic, is exactly the same, and you have certain twangs. So Isla would speak Gaelic slightly different to Skye, to Orkney, or Inverness, and all that. They all have their own kind of twist on certain phrases and things. So it was Toravaig. It was the Knocknamoyne.
Yes, that's what it was. It was after you had Stuart up for the shop tasting.
Yeah.
And you were talking about how to pronounce it, and somebody in store had said, "Oh, we were pronounced it this way," but then I was like, "Oh, we always used to call it the Moyne." But yeah, that's what it was. This is really nice, by the way. I think this might be the first time I've actually. This is lovely.
How could that be the first time you tried that when they said?
Yeah, I was wondering that.
because I went half-ways with my colleague because we swapped bottles, because Woody and Megan came up to visit us with Alex, and they gifted us a bottle, which was very kind each, and we did half-ways. So he had half and I had half, because we did the Williamson too. And then the people I was working with, I gave them all samples home as well. I'm just too nice, my own bloody good. So I kind of came away with not much whiskey, but it's actually really nice. You can also tell that I've had no supper and 2 whiskeys. I'm like, I love this stuff. This is awful good.
This is my favourite. It's the best ever.
I'm having so much fun. This is great. I love this stuff.
Well, Monday and Tuesday, for some reason, I got roped into doing tastings at the distillery for basically, I won't go there, but like it was at lunchtime. So that was good fun, but it made the afternoons a hell of a lot less productive, especially because like one of the guys was just well into it, and he was like, because we were just doing it at the bar at Deanston, like there's in the offices, there's like a bar upstairs, so it was basically everything was behind me. He was like, "Oh, like I'd like to try like the peated Bunnahabhain now," and he was like, "Oh, so Tobermory also do unpeated," and you're like, "Let's try both of these." That's like, for an ad hoc tasting, this is now becoming a session.
From tasting to session, that's always a fine line, really, isn't it?
Yeah, on a Monday as well.
Yeah, virtually, we used to do some virtual tasting and an official one thing, because everyone was at home. You know, even we were at home. We didn't have glasses to wash up or walk home. You just end up having an after party that lasted till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It's crazy. If you stayed up that long, you fell asleep during some of them as well. Some great times. Sandro has joined us. Good evening, Sandro. I won't make the same mistake again and call you a she. Very much a he.
You can say ciao for hello and goodbye, can't you? If we said hello, ciao, yes. We could correctly.
Hello and goodbye. I suppose it depends on which way you're walking.
You wouldn't think I dated an Italian for a couple of months. I've got no knowledge of the language at all.
But he is trying all 12. He's got all distilleries, Bunnahabhain, Deanston and Tobermory, and he's got the 12-year-old expressions from them all.
Oh, wow.
I would love to know, Sandra, if you went out and bought, just because you knew Andrew was coming, if you went out and bought a bottle of each to sit down and enjoy, that would be fantastic. And you'd become our #1 dedicated fan.
That's awesome.
It's either great commitment or just having a good collection to be able to pull those out of the background like last minute.
Ryan's just poured himself the last dram of the night, which is the Bunnahabhain and Cladich, which is the travel retail, or one of the travel retail releases. Bunna is quite big in travel retail, isn't it? They do quite a lot.
Aye. I think it's probably, it's by far like our biggest single malt brand. I think that's what gets quite a lot of focus in that. In those spaces.
Travel retail annoys me a little bit. 'Cause you see these amazing whiskies. You're like, where have you got that from? It's like, oh no, it's travel retail. It's like this secret club of people that can afford to go on holiday. Like, that just irritates me. Like, because they get good.
They're always 1 litre bottles as well, so
Mhm.
you can always spot them because they just look massive. And
But their packaging's always really fancy, and they've just made them look really nice just for people that don't have children and can afford to go to nice places.
I love it. Well, that's marketing down to a team. Travel retail for people with no children that can afford to go on holiday.
This pretty much sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not your fault, Ryan.
Your marketing team. That's two ideas to bring to the Bunnahabhain guys.
Yeah, I know. We're every week we do this, Mike. Though we kind of hone in on like sort of an untapped kind of marketing or sort of merchandise idea. We're making our guests small fortunes that completely by accident. We should set up ruining their reputation forever. Shite for 2 hours.
We take no responsibility for any ideas conceived on the blender that may fail. Oh man. Yeah.
I think this seems about a par for how I think people generate ideas anyway. So this is probably like.
I know. Well, we were speaking to Paul Dempsey last week. He was kind of saying, like, our chat ended up. It was kind of like at their board meetings. Really, they just got all the team together, and it's everyone, like from packaging people to like the admin staff, and they all just get to like, what's the word? Is it snowball ideas? I don't know. Like when you throw ideas around, whatever the technical term for that is, and they come away with these amazing, like, cool ideas, like the superhero one that they just released, which I know is not called superheroes. It's called, what's it called, Mike? Whisky Heroes. It's just, sometimes it's the best way. You just start speaking shite and something.
It's the trick with that one. The idea is great, and they're not cartoons or comics. They're called graphic novels,
which always sounds a bit erotic to me.
It's not 50 Shades of Grey kind of graphic novel.
I'm always so disappointed when it's just Spider-Man. I'm like, oh, well.
That's like, bought it on eBay. But yeah, they. I think because they're called Whisky Heroes, what they should have had was the people behind the distillery or the master blender or something disguised as a superhero, and on the label. I think that would have been pretty cool. You can imagine like Rachel Barry, as Catwoman or Wonder Woman or something like that.
Do you know? I bet a lot of people in this chat have already imagined that. To be fair, she's an attractive lady. If anybody's getting to be Catwoman, it's me. Like Rachel could be.
True. Yeah.
Like she's very clever. She should have to be like Doctor. Oh, it's just because he's Dr. Barry, but that's her name.
You basically turned her into her own superhero. Just yourself.
She is already a superhero, Dr. Whisky or something. Yeah. What's what's Glendronach famous for? It's like ravens or something, isn't it? Like she could be Dr. Raven or something. Yeah, that would be cool. She'd like dress up like a bird.
I think there is there not one of the X-Men was called Raven?
Yeah, there might be. There could be. I don't know. I should know that.
You geeks watching that know more about that than us would be ideal. Sorry, Andrew, we did tell you we waffle on a little bit about weird and wonderful things.
We get lost in an idea and we forget we're actually live.
We forget there's a guest here as well who's having to listen to this drivel. Andrew, if you could be a superhero, who would you be?
I was just going to say, you're outside of my wheelhouse with superheroes, but who would I be? I don't know. The Hulk always just looked like he had fun when he was raging around. And then totally forgets what he did.
It's like a weekend, really, isn't it?
It would give me an excuse. There was some sort of
that wasn't me. That was the
radiation reason behind it, or whatever. Yeah.
It could be like a sort of. It could be like a distillery story, like you fall into like the mash tun and you come out as like, Wart Man. Oh, that doesn't sound as exciting.
Yeah. Wart Man's definitely the villain.
Sounds like someone you'd meet at the SDI clinic.
Yeah, I'll have to work on that. There's room for improvement there.
Quite catchy. I'm not sure if. But you could. The superpower could be turning everything into alcohol. That would be pretty cool. Like Jesus.
There you go. But you've got people that do that, don't they? They basically like sweat alcohol because their body doesn't. It breaks down stuff different, doesn't it? So we create lactic acid and stuff if we're. I don't know, if you're running and your muscles are getting cramped, whereas these people just create alcohol. They're like constantly semi-drunk.
So that said she wanted to be Catwoman. That's actually what she meant.
Just lick alcohol off myself. I always think that yeast reminds me of sea monkeys. So I think if you fell into like the washbacks, you could be like an evil kind of person with like a sort of army of flying sea monkey type yeasts attacking people. I kind of feel like we're seeing the inside of my brain more than we need to tonight, but like I say, I haven't actually had dinner.
It's a horrible way to go, wouldn't it? Eating by sea monkeys.
I don't know if a sea monkey could eat you. Like, I don't know what they even are. Anyway, back to whiskey.
I'm going to go back to Keith's comment because I had to double take it. I thought he stole a bottle from Travel Retail, but he didn't. His latest Travel Retail steal was the last bottle off the shelf for Deanston 10, a Bordeaux cask Deanston 10.
Oh, wow.
Which sounds pretty cool. I like wine casks. I like red wine casks.
I do as well.
He did not steal it, but let's put that out there. It was a steal.
I always think a big heavy whiskey, like a big oily whiskey, works really well in a Bordeaux cask. Bordeaux's got those big kind of deep, rich flavors, and yeah, yum. That sounds really good.
Tannins and oak, and especially Deanston, that kind of waxy.
Yeah, that would be a good combination, I reckon. I'm gonna have to board a holiday to go and find one of those. Thanks, Keith.
Keith got the last bottle.
Oh, for God's sake!
He's not even saying what airport as well, so we don't know which one to like avoid to be able to like still be able to find it.
That's true.
Just be our luck. They say, right, we'll pick a random airport to fly through, and that's the one that he was.
Let's know your travel plans.
Got a list for travel retail, and then turns out it's like, no, Keith was here.
I know my kids are like, "Where are we going, Mom? Anywhere where we can get a Bordeaux Deanston. Come on, kids, let's go."
Does Deanston do distiller exclusives? Do they do handfills as well, or is it?
Yeah. There's usually quite a few, to be honest. So like they do the warehouse tastings and stuff. So a lot of those will have hand fills, but we also have one of the the casks that are actually in the shop with a tap on it, so you can like literally fill it there. So right now that's a 7-year-old organic, which is good. And yeah, that was actually something that like we found out last year was when you're making organic, and this applies for anything, that's what the guy explained to me, was that, so for us, the production process, like you just clean everything before you use it and so, but when it comes to packaging it, if you're not, if it's going to be called organic, you need to basically package it in front of the customer, or it's got to like have its own accreditation. So he was saying, you go to the shop and buy a loaf of bread, if it's pre-packaged, it'll need to have the organic label on it, and it means that they've got all the accreditation for it. So if you go to a baker's and it's just on the shelf behind and they put it into the little brown bag in front of you, it doesn't matter, they can call it organic as long as their process of making it. So we found that and we thought, well, there's a good reason to be able to like justify to the visitor centre managers that we need to have a cask on display in the visitor centre that you can pour it straight from and go and buy one of those ones that's like a stainless cask that's light inside. Yeah, so we started doing that last year. That was good. But yeah, I think I'm trying to think at the moment we've got what have we got? So one thing that's quite cool is that they've got these ex-bourbon casks that are kind of different ages. So then you can just see the more like the direct effect of maturation. And then We had a bunch that we did last year for like Deanston. Each December does a Winterfest. So on the Saturday, it's kind of all around tours and tastings, and then on the Sunday, it's kind of like an open day at the distillery where they do like a Santa's grotto and bits and pieces on the front lawn in front of it. So for that, we did. When we do, there was a French wine cask from. Well, it was originally, I think, put into bourbon in the '95, and then it was finished for, about 8 years of maturation in this. It's called French wine cask because it was something that was from a champagne house, but again, the regs told us that we're not allowed to call it champagne cask. But it was that type of thing. So that was really cool because that had like a real complexity to it, whereby it was just like. Normally with stuff that's been in a port finish, I get a lot of jamminess at the back, but I was getting it from like this French wine cask. So that was quite different to anything that I'd had Deanston in. Then we also had from basically the same distillation run, but a totally different journey. There was something that'd been in a cream sherry cask for the last 7 years as well. And that was pretty good. So they're both still kicking around. And then I think the other stuff is that there's usually kind of like sherried things with the distillery exclusives because it is totally different to like the core range. So I think there's an Amontillado one at the moment, and there's usually like a PX one kicking around as well because we've always kind of got like a small number of PX casks kicking about in the warehouses. We've had Deanston in them for a long time. So
it sounds like a good range.
There's a pretty big range, but it's because some of those tastings that you can do at the distillery, they're quite good because they will usually have like 3 or 4 that are within the warehouses, but they try and have different setups that they're doing. So it's good for people wanting to come again because otherwise sometimes with these like slower moving things that people don't like get the chance to. They've got to wait ages if they want to come back and see what news coming out. It just gives us a bit of stuff where we can move things at different speeds. So they're all worth it. The best thing that we had for a long time though was there was a port cask. I think it was 29 years old, and it sold out. It was a port pipe, and it sold out the quickest I've ever seen anything from a distillery exclusive. It was phenomenal, and it was definitely like a word of mouth type thing that everyone was coming and asking about it, but it was just like everything that you wanted from it. It looked like so dark, like you could tell what you were going to be getting from it straight away, and it was just like leathery and like tobacco and all this kind of stuff that was going on. It was just like so rich and deep. It was amazing.
That sounds like Mike's sort of whiskey.
Right up my street. I love port and whiskey. Very, very rarely does it not work. In fact, I do. As if I needed an excuse to pour. I'm on holiday this week, actually. I've been on holiday since yesterday. Yeah, I'm off for the weekend. We're away to Inverness. We're meant to be doing a gin festival with Foghouse, but the festival got cancelled. But I'm not too surprised about it because there's the Black Isle Festival is on, and the the Scottish Cup final, and quite a lot of stuff going on. So I think maybe we had to cancel ticket sales not being as great. Well, we had the hotel booked, so we're going to go up. So I've got this Ruby Port quarter cask Penrynnis bottled by David Stark and Clax. So that's what I am going to pour just now.
How are you going to fit that bottle into your glass recycling? That is a very wide square bottle.
They're ridiculous. It's like big aftershave, and they're a nightmare to pour. See if you're doing one of these for a tasting, just don't, because it just hurts every muscle in your arm when you're pouring it.
It's that hefty design.
Yeah, and I think because we had we were talking about tequila earlier. There was a company called UWA Tequila, which was aged tequilas, and the idea was that they were going to be sipping like a whiskey, kind of nice, quite high end. But then they rebranded. They came out in these bottles but they were back bar bottles. They weren't shot in bottles. And I think the feedback they got after that kind of first year was they're just a nightmare to pour. So bartenders were kind of complaining, and they are. It's Claxons, sort yourselves out. It's ridiculous. Bottle 2 days after my birthday, the 22nd of September. If anyone wants to know my birthday,
write that down, guys.
That was a big hit, wasn't it?
It's Friday night this year, which is. While I'm pouring this, Sandro has asked, can we ask Andrew if the first fill casks in one distillery would maybe become second fill casks in one of your other distilleries over time, or do you keep the casks? I assume that you guys kind of share warehousing between the three guys and maybe other guys to kind of spread the load anyway. So
yeah,
that the casks as well.
Yeah, it's totally possible. In fact, that is actually reminded me of a third one that we had at the Winterfest this year, where it was a really old Deanston. I think it was 30 years old, and again, like started in, I think it might have been in a refill cask for more than 20 years, and then it got finished in, or probably had about 8 to 10 years in Manzanita. And when you drank it, like you just got lots of the Manzanita from it. But then it's actually one of the guys at the tasting pointed it out. He was like, go back and smell the glass after you'd finished it. And it was only after you'd finished it that there was just this peat smell. It was like really smoky inside the glass. And it was like, first I was worried that we'd given him a dirty glass that hadn't been rinsed out from someone else before. But then we started doing it like, it was one of those things that's quite fun in tastings where you can then start mentioning, it's like, let's go around the room. Is everyone getting this? So the cask had clearly been used for something peated in the past. And I'm guessing probably something like Bunnahabhain Monia. And then this Deanston had, for one reason or other, like intentionally or more likely not, got filled into it, and it just kind of gave it this extra, like, I don't know, little dimension to it. It's that was pretty cool. And because it was like the cask is still in the warehouse at the moment, like then people would come up and like actually just smell inside it, and you were kind of getting just like this really lightly like peatedness from it. It was almost like you needed that big headspace where it was collecting. It was cool. But it was a long way to answer. Yes, first fills of one can become second fills of another.
Yeah, yes is such a boring answer though. You need some context in that.
I wonder how often that happens though. Accidental kind of, cask.
A lot, I think.
Yeah, I'd imagine, because like some people are really susceptible to peat. Like I'm a bit peat blind because I like a big strong peated whiskey. So like sometimes if it's very light peat content, I struggle getting it on the nose. Whereas people that are really adverse to peat are so good at picking it up. And quite often, if we've been nosing stuff for samples for casks, and somebody will say, "Oh, that's definitely had peat in it." You're looking, it's like, well, it's not peated. It's not peated. But you just wonder sometimes, well, actually, what do we know about that cask? But yeah, as you say, it probably happens more than it's admitted to, at least anyway.
Especially if something's going to be single cask, like there's such a huge chance that it's going to contribute to the flavour. If something's going into a great big run that will all get vatted together, probably not going to pick it up.
Yeah, blended out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, cool. We have another question. This is coming from Keith. Yeah, just reading Keith's comments. He's having his dram with hobnobs out in the Czech Republic. So his story from in Manchester Airport, by the way. It was.
So you are traveling the world, buying whiskey I can't get, and eating hobnobs.
I can't eat.
I just like that trip through the airport. He's like straight to global travel retail to get himself a whiskey. He's like, I'm going to get packaged, so let's go into WH Smith or whatever they've got in Manchester Airport.
I hope you've got a travel like a travel Sudoku as well. Like just complete the whole picture with a wee travel Sudoku book in the Czech Republic. Sounds awesome.
But he was saying when he bought on the travel retail to keep the symmetry on the shelf, the tube for the was it the Deanston that he bought? Yeah, the tube was on the left, on the right. The bottle was on the left, and Glenfiddich was in between them. So not only did he get the last bottle, but he had to
he had to hunt for the pieces like a sort of treasure.
Yeah. Maybe the hobnobs were in the tube to weigh it down instead of the bottle.
I hope so. Complimentary secret hobnobs.
How cool would that be? 3 hobnobs is heavy. There's another marketing one for you, Andrew. 3 hobnobs every bottle. There you go.
He just keeps going back.
But anyway, to get to the point, Keith has the question. Is there any spoilers about the next LeChick Sinclair series cast style? That Rioja banging.
No, I'm afraid not. That's definitely something that Julianne is keeping up her sleeve.
Right.
And I don't even know if when it's mentioned on like the sort of like pipeline of new things that are due to come out, but I don't actually know when it's being talked about. So I'm not sure. Just as I mentioned before, the latest thing that we did was that triple wood. So I don't know if that might be a wee while before the next one, because that was really good. The Sinclair series, brilliant combination between just the red wine and almost like all the nice raspberries and bits of chocolate and stuff like that from it, but just with plenty of peat running through it.
So good.
Yeah, I love
you
that.
went through cases of it.
It's such a good price as well, though. It's so affordable.
It was so good. Keith. Unfortunately, we can't give you any spoilers, but we will.
Can you still get it though? The Rioja one.
Yeah.
We ask for it every week from our suppliers, but it keeps coming through sold out. So we're going to have to.
Because I'm basically just thinking about in the visitor centres where they just seem to have loads of everything going back a while. I guess through distributors it'll be a totally different story.
We'll have to head out to Mull and stock up. We'll get a bus together, guys.
Sounds good. It's definitely you've got to go this time of year though. It's like when the sun's out, it's like one of the best places in Scotland, and you've got that high street with all the coloured houses, and it's just exactly what you expect. It's a great place. Not so much in the rain.
And it rains a lot out there. Oban was my closest town when I lived over west, and we get like averaging 110 inches of rain every year. If you compare that to the east, it's like about 30 inches every year. It's a lot of rain. But yeah, the summers make up for it because the summers are good.
Ed's looking forward to the group trip. We'll get the bus on the go.
Let's go. How many people can you fit in your bus, Mike?
If you're driving, 9.
Because I can put the seat right forward.
Oh no, because I'm not driving there. I'll drive there. I'm not driving back. That's the deal.
We'll get a volunteer to drive us. We need to do the Inverurie Whisky Shop road trip because I see other whisky shops doing it. So we need to get the Inverurie Whisky Shop road trip on the go.
We do. We'll go to Highland and we'll go and past Deanston on the way.
Yeah, we'll do that. That'll be good.
Well, if you ever are going out to Mull, like I guess coming down from north, we would only add on a short bit. But if you're going along the 84 out to Oban and going via Doon, you're pretty much there going past it anyway. So it's an easy trip in.
I'd love to see it. It looks beautiful. It's a converted mill, isn't it?
Oh yeah. So even though the distillery's only 60 years old, not even, the site is still about 200 years old. So like a really cool building that it's in. bit of a pain because it's not how you'd set out a distillery where you've got like mash house and then tunnel over here and still house over here. So you're transferring things one way or another. Like malt storage is right in the middle. Where you wouldn't put it, but it's cool. Then you've got all these like upper floors in the old mill building that are just completely like empty.
Because it'd be a big space you've got, I'd imagine, if it's just like a big old kind of Victorian mill.
Yeah. We're always saying we should do like a haunted house tour up there because
cool.
A couple of the operators are just terrified they won't go up at night time.
Really?
Yeah, there's one of them that basically asked his shift partner to come up with it because he was scared. Tell you what though, mine in 2021, and in November there was like these really big storms at the end of the month. It was called Storm Arwen, and Deanston, like the village, lost power for almost a week. So basically, when the power booted back in, the got an alert on my folks. Like the operators then were just, at home. There was no point coming in if there was no lights and all that. So they'd locked up like a few days, or they were coming in the daytime just to check that everything was still okay. But yeah, I think it was about just after midnight that the power came back on. So my phone got an alert from SSEN, and it was all right. Well, I need to go out now and basically just check everything that's happening. So I was walking around it. There's a big sort of like spiral staircase in the middle of the old mill building. So I was going up to basically turn off a light, which was on one of these floors. And then as I was coming back down, there was a compressor that kicked in. And I almost, my heart went up through the roof because there was just this noise. It just went from because it was silent. And like the distillery is very rarely silent. And so it was just like totally quiet. And then it went, brrr. I was like, oh my God. What is going on? I was terrified.
They can be so scary at nighttime though, distilleries. Like through the day, like they're high activity and like everything, there's people everywhere. But see, like summer shutdown or winter shutdowns, even worse. The VC staff have to go around and turn everything off and close everything down because the production guys aren't there. And yeah, like it just takes on like a whole different kind of life at nighttime at distillery. And during Christmas time, we used to do like a winter fair at Glengarry. Have a drink, everyone, if you're playing the game. A little bit like you were talking about at Deanston. And we had, at the very top of our malting floors, which you would have seen the other day when you're over with Alistair, it's like a 4-story building. And we'd seen there was a light on still upstairs. So I'd sent my colleague up to go and turn this light off. So we came back downstairs and we went to go to the main office to kind of go and clock out and lock up. And we came out and I was like, that light's back on. So he went back up to turn the light off and came back down. And the next day when we came back, one of the guys was like, you didn't turn the upstairs light off. Like, we turned it off twice. It was so creepy. So we have a ghost who does not care about electricity bills because they're just turning lights on willy-nilly.
I think that was the same ghost at Deanston, so I'm glad that he's finally left and he's went up north. That was also about 5 flights of stairs having to go up.
It's weird though, isn't it? Like these ghosts are determined to just turn lights on and climb upstairs. Like, what is that all about?
I think they're just calling their mates. It's almost like a lighthouse type thing where it's always the top floor that they leave on. So they're definitely signalling.
They're just shouting that they've got an empty for a house party. Come on, boys. I am going to go and find a charger because my screen has just gone very, very black and I've just got a 3% warning. So I'm going to have to just nip away a second and grab a charger.
Well, Kat, I was going to say that is us at 2 hours.
It is.
And I wonder if we wrap up there because we want to keep people. Because I know there's no VPub tonight. We might come back on in 45 minutes at 1:45 when Roy normally does and see how we can get.
We'll increase that YouTube percentage from 80 to like 98.
Yeah. And just I know I'm on holiday, but I'm not going to do that just in case anyone's getting excited by us returning at
I'm not on holiday. So I can't come back. I'm working in the morning.
But do we have next week's guest?
So I've had a cancellation, so it's to be confirmed. So if anybody has some suggestions, or Andrew, if you know anybody that wants to come on the Blether next week, I'm open to suggestions.
Is Greg not coming?
I don't know yet because my diary's a bit of a mess. I've scored out somebody that I assume was a cancellation, but I don't know if Greg ever actually confirmed that he's doing it.
Yes, he did with me.
Okay, so we've got Greg next week. That's fine because I checked my diary and thought, shit, that's a cancellation. Who have I got?
Because remember he cancelled a couple of weeks ago. And he said because that was the week that we had to do our own kind of
where we just spoke shit for 2 hours. Not unlike tonight.
Not like tonight. Tonight has been very educational and great. And loads of questions. Get 80% success rate on the likes. So
so that explains why
from Waite. Yeah, he is the cask selector. Really good guy. I've had a few nights out with Greg socially as well. Really nice guy. Although he's a Hibs fan, don't let that put you off.
I don't even care about football. Like I just tuned out right now.
So yeah, come and talk to us about independent bottling. They do their own gin as well. They're the guys behind the Glasgow gin, which has the statue with the traffic cone on the head as their label, which is pretty cool. So yeah, next week as Greg. But awesome. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. It's good to see another Rudy Loon coming on and having a Blether with us. It's great how we get into the industry in Inverurie for a wee time. We've got a few. And obviously, Rachel Barry, another Inverurie home bird. So,
I know, we're churning out the whiskey experts out of Inverurie, aren't we?
We are. Yeah. Absolutely. And next time I'm down your neck of the woods, Andrew, I will, because I've been down a couple of times and we always go past Deanston, and I really want to go there, but it's on that corner that you go past it, and it's because the entrance is quite hidden, isn't it, in the woods, in the trees, if I remember right.
Yep.
But it does have a big sign.
Conversation with the visitor centre manager. Get a better sign.
I think it's quite a big sign. It's well hidden.
Yeah. No, like stop by. Same with anyone else who's.
The next time you come back to Glengarry, I'll say hello properly.
Have we met?
See, if I come to Deanston, you're perfectly welcome. Just blank me and be like, don't know her.
No, I wouldn't do that. You're always welcome.
Thank you.
No, I'll definitely be back in Meldrum to, I'll stop by, and hopefully I'll see you before. But I'll always do my annual mad dash to the whiskey shop, and usually Christmas Eve.
Christmas,
yeah. Getting all the last minute presents, but it's worked for the last 5 or 6 years. So why break a tradition? It's
a great place to go for last minute. Because most people, not everyone, most people do, but we have some non-alcoholic options as well. Empty infinity bottles sound like a great play, because it doesn't have to be whiskey. You can put all kinds of cola and Fanta and Iron Brew in your.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
You're not marketing it well, Mike.
It's called is it a muddy puddle, which is Iron Brew and cola and orange juice or something like that.
I don't know.
So it's muddy puddle, vodka, cola, and orange juice. It looks like a muddy puddle. Looks horrible.
Sounds appealing.
There you go. You could do that for your next alcohol-free infinity bottle. Anyway, enough of the alcohol-free nonsense, because Keith has had a great announcement that Jeff Whisky is holding a V-pub tonight. So if you're not on his YouTube channel, sign up now, join Jeff. And then Roy's doing a recycle review number 18 at 10 o'clock. So there's plenty online tonight to keep you guys going. You don't have to go to bed just yet. But cheers, guys. Andrew, thank you for giving up your Thursday night to to have a chat with us. Been great fun getting to know a little bit more about Deanston, Bunnahabhain, Tobermory, and how to pronounce the unpronounceable. It's been great fun.
I don't think I'm being very educational there, but thanks for having me.
No, it's been brilliant. Enjoy Islay next week. Hopefully you get over on the ferry.
Yeah, let's just hope the weather holds up, but it'll be good regardless.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. Cheers,
Thank you.
everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Good night.
Cheers.
Punch.